Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the podcast that really gets into these fascinating stories to pull out those key insights.
Exactly. And today we've got a really compelling one.
Yeah, today we're inviting you into, well, a story of pretty extreme personal transformation. It's about someone pushed right to their limits, someone whose life was just fundamentally changed.
And it's more than just, losing weight. It's really a powerful look at human potential. It shows what can happen when you kind of engineer this perfect storm of motivation, environment, support.
Right.
And then crucially, how someone deals with, well, unexpected and honestly devastating challenges within that very carefully built world.
That's a great way to put it. Our focus today is a man named Match. He took on this truly extraordinary weight loss challenge.
Yeah.
The setup was, well, it was pretty unusual.
Very unusual.
His goal, I'd lose 100 pounds. That's about 45 kilos in just 1 year. And the prize, if he hit that target, a pretty staggering $50,000.
Yeah, but the environment, that's what's really fascinating here. Match lived in this special house, right? Kitted out with the gym, all his healthy food provided.
Okay.
But, and this is the kicker, there was this red line he absolutely could not cross. He couldn't leave the house at all until he hit his goal weight.
Wow.
So it created this almost hermetically sealed environment designed for just total focus.
It's like a golden cage, isn't it?
Exactly, a golden cage.
Designed to just strip away every single distraction, every external influence. And it immediately makes you think, about how much our environment actually shapes our ability to reach goals.
Oh, absolutely. How much of our own struggles are just, fighting against the stuff right around us?
Totally. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack what drove Match's incredible transformation. We'll look at the surprising twists, the emotional hurdles he faced.
Big ones.
Yeah, big ones. And maybe most importantly, think about the implications of using such an intensely controlled path to succeed.
Right. What does it all mean long term?
So to really get the scale of this and find those valuable nuggets, we kind of have to start at the beginning. Where was Match when this all kicked off?
Yeah, the starting line. Okay, so when Match began, he weighed 324 pounds. That's about 147 kilograms.
Okay, so pretty heavy.
Definitely. And the early videos that make it really clear, he had basically zero prior fitness knowledge. He didn't even know how to do a proper squat.
No kid.
None. So given that starting point, losing 100 pounds in a year, that was incredibly ambitious. Almost seemed, impossible for someone with his background.
And who was guiding him through this? You mentioned support.
Right, the catalyst. That was Coach Wall, his personal trainer. He was absolutely critical. And of course, that controlled environment inside the house, just eliminating all those outside distractions.
So the coach plus the cage. What was the immediate effect? Did it work straight away?
It really did. His initial progress was, well, nothing short of remarkable. In just the first month, he lost an impressive 20 pounds.
20 pounds?
In a month.
Yeah, about 9 kilos,
Right.
straight off the bat. Wow. That must have been hugely motivating.
Oh, for sure. That initial success, it really shows the power of getting those immediate results to build momentum, doesn't it? But, keeping that going long term is the hard part. And the challenge design here was actually pretty clever. They built in these mini challenges.
Ah, okay, like milestones.
Exactly. Milestones with their own cash prizes. It's a great example of using intermittent reinforcement and, gamification, basically.
Making it a bit like a game.
Yeah. So, for instance, on day 60, Match had this push-up challenge. He managed 31 push-ups and won $31,000 for it.
$31,000 for
Yeah.
push-ups.
Yep. And by then, his weight was down to 286 pounds.
Okay, so progress on multiple fronts, weight down, fitness up, bank balance up.
Precisely. And it wasn't just cardio or weight loss. It was about building strength, too. On day 100, there was a lifting challenge. He successfully moved 40,000 pounds in total.
40,000? How does that even work?
I think it was cumulative over different lifts, but yeah, a huge amount. And that earned him another $40,000.
Okay.
By then, his weight was down to 271 pounds. So that actually marked the halfway point in his weight loss journey, 50 pounds down.
That's incredible progress in just over 3 months. Do you think those smaller, more frequent payouts were actually maybe more motivating than the big $50K at the end? especially early on?
That's a really crucial point. I think they probably were. I mean, the big prize was the hook, obviously. But these mini challenges, they offered that immediate gratification. They broke this huge, overwhelming goal down into smaller, achievable, rewarding steps.
Makes sense.
And that kind of regular positive feedback, it's so vital for building habits, building confidence, especially when you're starting from, well, zero, like Match was.
But it wasn't all smooth sailed and wins, was it? You mentioned emotional challenges.
No, definitely not. The journey was far from just, a straight line down on the scale. Match faced some really significant emotional hurdles.
Like what?
Well, there was this particularly tough moment when the anniversary of his father's death came around. You could just see it in the footage. His motivation really dipped. He was clearly very sad.
Oh, wow. That's tough to deal with at the best of times, let alone in this intense situation.
Exactly. And this is where Coach Wall's role became so much more than just physical training. He provided that crucial emotional support, that stability. He really got that you have to support the whole person, not just the body doing the exercises.
That speaks volumes about the coach. It raises that question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How much of great coaching is technique versus, well, emotional intelligence and connection?
A huge amount, I think. But
Great.
then, just as Match seemed to be navigating that, finding his rhythm again, the journey took an unbelievably difficult turn.
Yeah. You're talking about what happened with Coach Wall.
Exactly. What happened next could have just completely derailed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Shortly after that anniversary period, Coach Wall suddenly and tragically passed away.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I mean, Match had clearly formed such a deep bond with him. He was his primary guide, his main support system, and suddenly he was gone.
I can't even imagine the emotional whiplash. Dealing with grief on top of this immense physical and mental challenge, totally isolated.
It's hard to fathom the toll. It really put Match's resilience to the absolute test. Anyone could have justifiably quit right there.
Absolutely.
But, in this incredible display of mental fortitude, he decided he had to finish the challenge. He decided to do it in honor of his late coach.
Wow.
And that moment, that decision, it really highlights the power of finding that deeper why, doesn't it? That intrinsic motivation. When the external props are kicked away, what keeps you going?
Yeah, his motivation shifted. It wasn't just the money anymore, or even just the weight loss goal itself.
It became something much more profound, much more internal, a tribute, a promise. And that kind of purpose is critical for sticking with any really hard long-term thing.
And he didn't just stick with it, did he? He seemed to find another gear.
He really did. He excelled. On day 130, he took on a running challenge. And get this, he ran a mile in just 8 minutes and 4 seconds.
8 minutes? Didn't he struggle to even run at the start?
He used to take 17 minutes to cover the same distance.
17 down to 8. That's genuinely athletic.
It's an incredible improvement. That run won him another $25,000, and his weight was down to 253 pounds by then.
And did he get new support after Coach Wall?
Yes. To ensure he still had guidance, a new advisor, Jeff Nippard, was brought in, a well-known fitness expert.
Okay. But that transformation, going from struggling to run a 17-minute mile to an 8-minute mile, what does that do to how you see yourself?
Oh, it's fundamental. It's not just the number on the scale changing. It's a complete recalibration of your identity, your perceived capabilities.
Right.
Match wasn't just losing fat. He was discovering what his body could do. That's a huge psychological shift. Powerful stuff.
And the progress kept coming.
It absolutely did. On day 161, there was a dead hang and pull-up challenge. He won $71,000 for that one. $71,000. And pull-ups, you said he had no fitness background. Could he even do one before?
Not a single one at the start. He went from 0 pull-ups to being able to do, well, quite a few. It was an astonishing strength gain.
Incredible. Where was his weight by then?
He was down to 234 pounds, just 10 pounds away from that final 100-pound goal.
So close. You could really see the full transformation by then, I imagine.
Oh, completely. The physical changes were just profound. His clothes size, for example, went from a 3XL all the way down to an XL.
That's huge.
Huge. And beyond just looking different, his actual health improved dramatically. Doctors noted his life expectancy had measurably increased.
That's the real prize, isn't it?
Ultimately, yes. And there was this really unique moment near the end. They gave Match a weighted vest, a special bodysuit that weighed 97 pounds.
97 pounds? Why?
So he could physically feel the amount of weight he had lost, to give him this deep sensory experience of his own achievement.
Whoa, putting that on must have been something else. Yeah, an extraordinary way to internalize just how massive that change was, to literally feel the absence of that burden he'd been carrying. It must have been a very profound moment.
And then finally, the finish line. The grand finale.
Yep. On the final day of the year-long challenge, the final weigh-in, it was a big event. Family, friends were there. Even David Letterman showed up.
David Letterman. Really?
Apparently so. The atmosphere must have been just electric. So much anticipation.
So, the moment of truth. Did he make it?
He did. Triumphant result. Match officially lost over 100 pounds. His final weight was under the 224-pound target.
Amazing. He actually did it.
He did it. And his total winnings from all the challenges added up to a whopping $170,000.
Wow. Life-changing money on top of a life-changing transformation.
Absolutely. But you know, the most moving part, the moment that really stuck with me watching it was when Match paid tribute to Coach Wall. It just cemented that this was so much more than a weight loss story. It really became this narrative of overcoming grief, of deep self-transformation, and honoring that really powerful bond he'd formed.
It's an incredible journey, a really powerful case study in, behavioral change under almost lab-like conditions.
Absolutely. An amazing transformation achieved under, as you say, very unique, very specific circumstances.
And that really brings us to the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Mm.
And maybe a quick question for you listening right now. Match's success, it happened inside this highly controlled bubble, right? That golden cage we talked about. Distractions gone, temptations removed.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens after? What happens when the red line disappears and that constant, unwavering support of a coach or advisor isn't there every single day?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the $170,000 question in this case. It's crucial for anyone thinking about how to apply lessons from something this extreme.
Yeah. Does an intense, isolated experience like Match's actually build the internal strength, the discipline you need for lasting change out in the messy, uncontrolled, real world?
Or is it a success story that was maybe heavily reliant on those external supports, those constraints? Does it raise questions about how sustainable that kind of change is long-term once the cage door opens?
Something to definitely chew on.
Yeah.